What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone is having a merry April 20th, 420. Um, this holiday, or pseudo holiday, seems to have a negative connotation over the past couple of years because today is the second year anniversary of the death of Tim Bergling, aka Avicii. And yeah, 2 years ago to this day, the passing of probably of his generation, one of the biggest electronic music producers of all time, and certainly of his era. Um, I myself, I think I actually made a video. I want to say I made a video of right after his passing, but this is kind of a look back on my personal memories of listening to Avicii. I remember when Avicii was kind of peaking over there in like 2011, 2012 was like right when I was really heavily listening to electronic dance music and most importantly electronic house music. I've always been a huge fan of electronic house music, and when Avicii arrived on the scene, he blew up into being one of the biggest producers, DJs of that era. And I've spent the afternoon kind of listening over a few of his songs, just to kind of refresh my mind, listening to his music and just kind of analyzing it and thinking about what really stands out about it, what makes it hold up to the test of time, so many years later, and why his career and his life was so important to the scene and for the whole EDM movement. Um, yeah, just listening to his productions. Of course, he has uh, he had like this kind of strange crossings between um, success commercially and really um, being a landmark sound producer himself, as far as just his. The main thing that I think about when I listen back to his music is just how instantly recognizable it is, and how his productions all have their own character to it. When you listen to them, you can maybe think um, that there's other producers that might have a more developed sound, or like might have more complex kind of arrangements and things like that. I mean, if you really get down to it, a lot of his productions were pretty formulaic and kind of followed a certain pattern. But I think that's kind of was a testament to his creative geniuses. He was able to kind of form his own niche and like his exact sound and exact where he was in the scene. He was able to forge that little pocket and be able to thrive there. And like I said, his productions are just instantly recognizable. Whenever you hear it, it's like you can hear that it's Avicii. And not to say that people haven't been trying to emulate his styles over the years, and obviously he had such a breakthrough and such a landmark sound that obviously it had been it heavily influenced a lot of different areas and a lot of different artists throughout the years, to almost to the point to where it's almost become redundant at this point, because there's been so many other artists that have grown around that particular sound. And yeah, his sound, if you go back and listen to it, of course you have his hits, "Wake Me Up," this combination of folk music and electronic music, and that's kind of the thing that sticks out whenever I listen to a lot of his productions, is that it's electronic music that's made to sound like actual instruments. A lot of his drops and a lot of the electronic elements are it kind of sounds like a violin. It kind of sounds like a woodwind instrument or something of that nature, and yeah, it's really inspiring, truly, for me. Like I said, I have been a huge fan of electronic house music, and he was a very landmark producer in the history of electronic house music. And it's very sad that of his passing 2 years ago at the young age of 28. Me being 29 right now, about to turn 30, it's just crazy. Yeah, to think of somebody's life being cut so short, and it just, whether exactly what his health concerns were, and how much of that was related to his alcoholism. Man, it's just crazy that somebody could put that many miles and that big of a strain on their body in such a short amount of time that they could have, organ failure and have their life cut short at such a young age. But that's kind of the nature of the beast, and with immense success comes trials and tribulations that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of not myself included. You never really know what some person is going through. You never really know that somebody might be having a tougher time than they might appear on the surface. And a lot of the times you think that fame and fortune can bring you immense happiness and things like that, and it can to a certain extent, but I think it's also easy to kind of to fall into some pitfalls, and to once you're kind of a in a habitual state, once you're kind of in this roller coaster, it's kind of hard to get it to stop, and a lot of the times you don't know when to stop, and a lot of the times you end up stopping too late, and it's very sad, very tragic, and I've spent a lot of the day today just listening back to his productions and, Levels, listening to Levels, kind of like I had to fight back tears, honestly. I mean, it was like, somebody creating such a great piece of art. If you go back and listen to Levels, I mean, that's especially if you were big in the scene, not big in the scene, but if electronic house was something you listened to all the time, like I did back when it came out, and you really understand just how landmark of an achievement that was, and how how big of a song it was, and yeah, it's just great that the art lives on, and that we're able to still talk about it and offer it perhaps as a precautionary tale and hopefully learn from it. But I think for the most part, I feel inspired by his life and by his art, and I hope if you go back and listen to him that you feel the same way. Yeah, it definitely inspires me. I'm inspired now to try to get back and start writing, and yeah. The main thing that I want to take away from this, and maybe kind of the hammering point, is what I wanted to say about Avicii is his style was so evident in all of his productions, and I think going back to a tweet that I saw last night, it was Lil Texas was tweeting about, hey guys, don't spend so much time talking about people kind of early in their production phase. He's telling people not to focus so much on their mixing and their mastering, but focus on creating a sound and creating a vibe, or creating something that's unique, instead of focusing on like, oh, I got to get my master exactly right, or oh, I got to make sure I have the cleanest mix down out of everybody. I think Avicii definitely did that. I think his style is very evident, and I think that's really what made him successful. And I think that also can be inspiring. That if you can make something to make yourself stand out, because I feel like, especially in electronic music, there's so much homogenization. There's so much people using the same samples and same loops, and sounding very similar, and wanting to outdo one another, but also staying within the same vein. Basically, what I'm trying to say is just, focus on trying to find your own sound. Focus on doing things to set yourself apart. And if you can do that, I think it's easier maybe to achieve success that way. It can be more difficult, but if you find a way to set yourself apart, it will get you more noticed. And what it comes down to at the end of the day is, and this is something that I'm trying to focus on, is, what can I do that nobody else can do? What's something that I bring to the table that other people wouldn't be able to? Because it's easy to get wrapped up into comparing yourself into other people, and to get wrapped up in, well, they do that better than I do this. A friend of mine once told me, basically your style is dictated by your limitations. Like, ultimately what you're limited at is what is going to be some of the defining characteristics of your art. And that's like, whoa. Like me talking about, from a guitar player's perspective, it's like, you can always go out and find somebody that can play faster, somebody that knows more chords, like somebody that is more technically better. But it's all about, what are some of the things that you're limited at, and how can you use those things and just maybe use them in a different way, be creative with them, and ultimately set yourself apart and make yourself more noticeable. So that's kind of the overlaying thought that I've had by listening to Avicii today. And it's just a good time to be inspired right now. It's a good time for anybody that wants to be creative and that wants to have an opportunity to make a name for themselves. Like, this is the perfect time to do it, because you've got nothing but time. So anyway, wanted to give my thoughts and get a video up today. Encourage everybody to go listen to some Avicii if you have some time, have some free time while you're lounging about. All right, guys, this is Atomic Moon. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys next time.